Hello everyone, my name is Jane. I go by Princess Etch. I am an Etch A Sketch artist, and I am a live streamer. I've been streaming for the last 4 years, predominantly on TikTok Live, as well as YouTube vertical streaming. And today, I would like to talk about viewer etiquette lessons. So, for those of you watching, you very well might have been sent this by either me or another live streamer, and that might be our indirect way to inform you that perhaps you're not passing the vibe check. And I understand being a participant on a live stream is a unique form of socializing. It is a parasocial form of socializing in most ways, although you can interact with other people in the chat. So I just wanted to talk about my personal experiences with what I like to see in my live streams and the kind of behavior that I would like to mitigate in my live streams. This may not be across the board for every live streamer, across every type of profession or every type of stream that you can host. But hopefully the words that I share today might resonate with other live streamers and those who like to participate in viewing live streams. So first up, I would like to talk about the concept of spamming. Now, thankfully, there are certain platforms like Twitch and YouTube that allow for slow chat, which helps to really mitigate spamming qualities. But spamming, I feel like, at its essence, comes from somebody who is looking for individualized attention from a live streamer. And this is problematic because a live streamer is not having a one-on-one interaction with any individual fan unless they happen to have an audience of one tuning into their streams. The live streamers are having a parasocial interaction with a group of people. Now, that can be an authentic interaction because the people watching can leave comments in the chat and I can interact directly with them during my live streams. But when people are spamming, they are generally looking for that individualized one-on-one attention. And that is something that, in my experience, live streamers are unable to give, because if you're giving too much individual attention to one viewer, that is at the expense of everyone else watching. Now, there are times when I love to answer people's questions or where someone's comment might start a whole new tangent of things that I'm talking about, but for the most part, I am not providing a one-on-one conversational experience in my live streams, and I don't really know any live streamers who are doing that unless they're hosting a guest stream where they have somebody participating who is also talking in the live stream. It doesn't happen in the chat. So if you find that you are spamming the same comment again and again and again until the live streamer notices, you are probably annoying the live streamer. And if they didn't see the comment before, sometimes it's just good to let go of it. If it's not that incidental, if the subject had moved on since your comment was first said, you got to learn to kind of roll with the punches and let go of things and move on along with the flow of the conversation. A lot of people don't like that, and that's okay. If that's not you, then maybe it's not a good idea for you to tune into streams, because it's very hard for a live streamer to really maintain a constant attention span for what's happening in the chat at all times. Because what often happens is that the live streamer is telling a story and then the chat will be moving forward, and if I were to backtrack every single time the conversation got to the point where I could read every comment, then I would never get to the next point. Then the narration of the stream, or whatever I'm talking about while I'm creating art, because I'm an art streamer, that would kind of come at the expense of whatever I'm sharing with the audience. So if you find that your comments are consistently ignored, it's possible that what you're saying doesn't provide a lot of value to the conversation. So for example, if I'm creating drawings and say I'm drawing this here Zapdos, right? And somebody comes into my stream and they ask, "Can you draw a Stitch?" And it's possible one of my moderators might have responded and said she's not taking requests right now, or maybe if you send a donation, then you could be added to the queue. And maybe the person who asks, "Can you draw a Stitch?" they ignore it. They ignore it and they just keep spamming. Well, eventually my moderators generally will mute that person. And otherwise, I just may not read the comment because I'm busy drawing and talking at the same time, or I might not find it interesting enough to address and to remove my train of thought from what I'm in the middle of doing. So I might just ignore it. So if you find that you spamming "Can you draw this" 20 times is not getting the response that you desire, then maybe you should think of something else to say, right? So spamming is definitely a pretty big problem that I see, and it tends to happen predominantly with younger viewers, but it's not just something for younger viewers. I think it's for people who don't understand the ecosystem of live streaming. So I discourage all viewers from live streams to spam aggressively. It's okay if you need to repeat yourself from time to time. Another thing that I encourage people from doing when they are watching live streams is writing very long walls of text. Now, thankfully, there is a character limit, which I think is a beneficial thing for live streams because it's such an on-the-fly form of communication that's happening in the chat. It's real time, the chat's scrolling by, and it's hard for a live streamer to read more than like 2 lines of text at once. Now, there are occasions where sometimes somebody is sharing an anecdote or a story, and I understand. Sometimes you just get to that character limit. I've done it myself watching people's live streams, but if you're consistently typing walls of text to a live streamer, it gets to the point where you're once again trying to establish some form of one-on-one type of interaction that a streamer is just not going to provide for you. It's just not going to happen. A live streamer is not supposed to give only one member of the audience attention at the expense of everyone else watching. For me, as a live streamer, I try to put on a show that a large audience of people can enjoy. And if they so desire to join the conversation, then they are always welcome to do so. I feel like I'm constantly switching between making the art and communicating with my audience and reading the chat and making sure that I'm able to interact and keep up with what's happening in the conversation that's happening in the chat as well. But I find that my biggest issues when it comes to etiquette come from the people who are looking for that one-on-one interaction. Also, people who are trying to scope creep. So scope creeping is where maybe there was, for me, like I create these drawings here, like here's another one that I did on a live stream. Now I make these drawings and usually I have pretty established rules, and it's understandable that a newbie wouldn't know what those rules are, but like I will do a free drawing every now and then. Maybe I'll set up a poll for people to vote for, or I will, open up a queue for people to pay for commissions, and there are various methods that I do that. Or I will take a random comment from the chat, and usually I announce that. Now, I understand newbies don't know that. I understand that when you join a random person's live stream, you are not completely aware of every single rule that happens for every single streamer. So I don't fault people for asking, hey, can you draw a blank for me or whatever? And usually a moderator or I will explain, well, you know, here's the rules. This is how it goes. But then you'll get people who find a way to kind of constantly ask for things that no one else in the chat is asking for. For example, maybe I'm doing a drawing and somebody asks me to do a free drawing for them, and maybe it's explained, no, I don't, and maybe they buy a commission, and the commission is generally one subject matter, but they slip 2 subject matters in there, or they ask me to change things about the image, or they ask, can you draw it on a bigger Etch A Sketch, or they ask, can you switch the song? And suddenly it's like I'm being asked to do all of these things that I don't want to do. And now I'm like boundary setting throughout the stream. And I understand newbies are just learning the ropes. They're learning how I do things. So I try to give a lot of grace toward that. And my moderators are very communicative and are often able to answer on my behalf, so I don't like sidetrack myself out of what I'm doing. But it can become particularly trying when a regular is doing that. If there's somebody who's been in my streams for a long period of time and they keep always trying to pressure me or encourage me to like broach past a boundary that I normally keep in order to maintain the flow of a stream. So if you find as a viewer that you are constantly trying to broach past what a streamer normally does, maybe that streamer's not the right person for you to watch, or maybe you're just not the right fit for the community. Because I find it very trying to be explaining boundaries constantly while I'm streaming. The third, and possibly, I mean, I don't even know what number we're at this point, to be honest, but one of the most egregious types of people that I try to keep out of my streaming communities are the people who put me on the spot. Now, these are people who will ask personal questions in the audience, in the chat, or they will ask inappropriate things for the purpose of putting the streamer on the spot. People who ask for favors, people who, I'll give you an example. Somebody joins my stream and they'll ask, what's your religion or something? And I'm not talking about religion. It's not relevant to what's going on. I am in the middle of drawing on an Etch A Sketch and maybe talking about anime or something, right? So it's really weird to join somebody's live stream and immediately start with a personal question. My rule of thumb is if you would not approach a stranger and ask them on the street, then you probably shouldn't ask a live streamer, because what you're doing is you're putting them into an uncomfortable position where they now need to either establish, like, either answer a question that they may not have been comfortable sharing in front of an audience, or that they now need to reinforce a boundary and establish that and discuss that with the audience. Now, I think it's important to talk about boundaries online, especially because I think a lot of people are open books, and we all have to choose where we are comfortable sharing this or that in our lives. But I think that when people put other people on the spot, especially, here's a great example. When people join my live stream and then ask to become a moderator, that's putting me on the spot. And it's honestly one disqualifying factor that will mitigate the probability that I'm going to make them a moderator, because I don't want the kind of person who puts me on the spot and makes me feel uncomfortable for a moment, or makes me feel a sense of obligation for a moment, to be the kind of person to make calls for how to maintain my community. So don't put live streamers on the spot. Or if you do, just know that they're probably not going to like you for doing it. Like, they're probably going to be a little bit bristled or annoyed by the fact that you're trying to put them into a weird position, when all they're trying to do is entertain a group of people. Now, I've been streaming for years now. I've streamed for literally thousands of hours, and I've personally learned to just ignore or delete or mute or block the people that are most egregiously essentially trying to troll. But I know a lot of people are genuinely asking. They're not even trying to troll. They're just popping into a live stream, and the first thing they're doing is they're joining a live stream and they're just being like, "Are you LGBT?" Like, okay, why do you need to know that right off the bat? What is the relevance of that? I am just drawing on a freaking Etch A Sketch, and why do I need to change the topic to that? It's the people who join a stream and immediately want to completely hijack the conversation happening and make it about what they're saying. Once again, it's kind of turning into that whole one-on-one communication sort of thing. So I hope that these words and these thoughts are of some use to some people who are watching. I know that these are my opinions that are not necessarily shared by other live streamers, but this is something that I've personally felt in my live streams, and something that I've talked to a lot of other live streamers who feel similar ways. They don't like being put on the spot. They don't like when people try to hog the microphone and make the stream all about them when they're just in the audience, because at the end of the day, everyone has the ability to host a stream. If you want the microphone, you have the power to put it in front of your face and roll the cameras. So hopefully these words are not considered too harsh if you're watching them, if somebody sent this to you for the purpose of letting you know that, hey, you're not passing the vibe check with this live stream. And if you have additional problems or concerns, always feel free to share them in the comments. This is just how I like to run my live streams, and I'm very grateful to have an awesome, dedicated team of moderators who help to enforce the type of community that I would like to cultivate for my streaming environment. Thank you again to everybody who tunes in. Even if you haven't passed the vibe check, it means a lot that you've given your time to me. And if you are a live streamer and you have varying opinions on what I said, and you feel very passionately or vehemently different about what I shared, or you have other problems that you have with viewers, or other gripes or things that grind your gears, please feel free to share them in the comments below. I would love to start a dialogue about this. I definitely don't want to come from a place of, hey, I hate when people are joining my streams and being this way. You know, people are the worst. I try not to be that way, but I also, as a live streamer, want to cultivate the kind of environment and community that I most enjoy spending time with, because I'm a freelance artist. I don't work for anybody, and I get to call the shots in the kind of community that I want to enforce. So if these words resonated with you, please let me know what you think, and I hope to catch you all next time.